Surely, hold on, let me share the entire screen. Hold on. All right. Okay, so we are now on the major learning theories. So what are those? This discussion, so we'll be tackling about behaviorism, cognitivism, construction. Hold on. We'll be discussing behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism, and humanism. Hold on. Take three. So we'll be discussing about behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism, humanism, and social learning theories. So these are the major learning theories in education. Okay, let's proceed. So each of these stage or each of these theories offers a unique perspective on how learning occurs, providing educators and learners with different frameworks to understand and optimize learning experiences. So these are the major learning theories, and each of them offer a unique lens on how people learn. These theories give educators and learners a different ways to understand, approach, and improve the learning process, whether through behavior, thinking patterns, social interactions, or personal growth. Each theory help us shape better and more meaningful learning experiences. So let us start with behaviorism. So this theory emphasizes of the observable behaviors and external stimuli as the driver of learning. Behaviorists believe that learning is a result of conditioning through rewards and punishment. So behaviorism, it is the outside, it is the observable behavior of a certain person. For example, in a classroom setting, a teacher might use positive reinforcement like praise or stickers to encourage students to participate actively. So, other example, teacher uses other positive reinforcement, like giving them food like chocolate, what other thing that they provide, like external object to provide them like motivation to learn better. So this theory is all about what we can see, a person's actions or behaviors. It says people learn by reacting to things that hold on. Take two. So this theory is all about what we can see, a person's actions or behaviors. So it says people learn by reacting to things that happens around them. In other words, learning happens when someone is rewarded for good behavior or corrected for bad behavior. Like for example, in school, when a teacher gives a student a sticker or says a good job for answering a question, it makes the student want to participate more. That's because the praise or the reward encourages them to keep doing it. In a classroom setting, a teacher might use positive reinforcement like praise or stickers to encourage students to participate actively. Behaviorism, this is a learning happens through stimulus response associations, meaning people learn by responding to what happens around them. So the focus here is it focuses only on observable behavior, what people actually do, not what they're thinking or feeling inside. So they're just focusing on the observable behavior without knowing what's the real reason behind how learning happens. So, for this, through rewards or enforcement and punishment, also known as conditioning. So, behaviorism is a learning theory that focuses on observable behavior and how they are shaped by external factors. It believes that learning happens when people respond to rewards or punishment. In short, behaviorists say we learn by doing, repeating actions that bring positive outcomes and avoiding those that don't. So we have famous names in behaviorism. First, we have B.F. Skinner, Brofender Skinner. Um, he proposes the operant conditioning or rewards and punishment. Also, we have John Watson. He theorized the little Albert experiment or classical conditioning in humans. We have also Ivan Pavlov. Ivan Pavlov is the famous proponent for classical conditionings, which is the dog salivating at the sound of a bell. So these scientists showed how people and animals learn by connecting actions with rewards, punishment, or other events around them. And first, let us have a small insight about B.F. Skinner, which is the operant conditioning, the rewards and punishment. So here, he believed people learn through rewards and punishment. If you do something good and get a reward, you'll likely do it again. If you do something bad and get a punishment, you'll avoid doing it next time. So this is called operant conditioning. Also, B.F. Skinner helped people see learning and behavior in a new way. He showed that we can encourage good actions and reduce bad ones by using rewards and consequences, something called operant conditioning. So, like for example, in a nursery or a classroom, teachers can use simple rewards like stickers, praise, or extra playtime to help children learn good habits. Even today, from little kids in preschool to students in college, Skinner's ideas still help teachers and parents guide behavior and learning in a positive way. The operant conditioning or the rewards and punishment. Other example, imagine a child cleans up their toys and their mom gives them a piece of candy or extra screen time as a reward. Because of that reward, the child is more likely to clean up again next time. So on the other hand, if the child throws toys around and loses playtime as a consequences, they learn not to do it again. So, in short, good behavior gets a reward, bad behavior gets a consequences. So that's how operant conditioning helps shape actions by using the rewards to encourage good habits, and consequences to stop bad ones. Next, we have John Watson, which is the famous theory of famous proponent of Albert experiment, which is the classical conditioning in humans. So here, he showed that even human emotions can be learned. In this little Albert experiment, he made a baby afraid of a white rat by pairing it with a loud, scary noise. So, this shows that people can be trained to react in a certain ways. John Watson believed that even our feelings like fear can be learned. To prove this, he did a famous experiment again that's called the Little Albert experiment. He showed a baby named Albert a white rat, and at first, the baby wasn't scared. But then, every time the rat appeared, Watson made a loud, scary noise. After a while, the baby started crying from seeing that rat, even when there was no noise. Hold on, take two. John Watson believed that even our feelings like fear can also be learned. And to prove this, he did a famous experiment called the Little Albert experiment. He showed a baby named Albert a white rat. At first, the baby wasn't scared, but then every time the rat appeared, Watson made a loud, scary noise. After a while, the baby started crying from seeing that rat, even when there was no noise. Hold on. Take three. John Watson believed that even our feelings like fear can be learned also. To prove this, he did a famous experiment called the Albert experiment. He showed a baby named Albert a white rat. And at first, the baby wasn't scared. But then, every time the rat appeared, Watson made a loud, scary noise. After a while, the baby started crying just from seeing the rat, even when there was no noise. This shows that people can be trained to feel certain emotions, like fear, by connecting one thing, like the rat, with something scary, like the noise. So it's a clear example of a classical conditioning in humans. So John Watson, um, he believed that our fear also can be learned. So, example, imagine a child hears a loud, scary thunderclap every time they see a balloon pop. At first, the balloon is just a fun toy for a child, but after a few times of hearing the loud noise, whenever a balloon pops, the child might start feeling scared just by seeing a balloon, even if this it hasn't popped yet. So this is a classical conditioning in humans, just like in Watson's Little Albert experiment. So it shows how we can learn to feel emotion like fear by connecting one thing like the balloon with with something frightening like the loud noise. Also, we have Ivan Pavlov. He is the famous proponent for classical conditioning, which is the dog salivating at the sound of a bell. So, Ivan Pavlov was a scientist who accidentally discovered how animals and people can learn by making connections between things. He noticed that the dogs would start drooling or salivating when they saw food. But then he started ringing a bell every time he gave them a food. After doing this several times, the dogs began to drool or salivating just by hearing the bell, even if there was no food. So this shows that animals and people can learn to link one thing like a bell with another like a food. This is called classical conditioning or learning by association. So, other example. Imagine every time you hear the sound of an ice cream truck's music, you get excited because it means ice cream is coming. At first, the sound of the truck meant nothing to you. But after a few times of hearing the music and getting ice cream, your brain connects the two. Now, even if you hear that music without seeing the track, you still feel excited. So that's classical conditioning. Learning to connect one thing like music with another, which is the ice cream. That is the classical conditioning. Next, we have the cognitivism. First, we have behaviorism, which is the learning the observable behavior of a person. Next, we have cognitivism, which is it focuses on what's happening inside our minds when we learn. A while ago, we discussed the behaviorism, which is observable outside. Now, we're going to discuss the cognitivism, which is inside in our minds, learning inside our minds. It like saying, let's look at how people think, remember, and solve problems. So cognitivists believe that learning isn't just about reacting to rewards or punishment, like in behaviorism, but about how our brain processes and organizes information. Like example, imagine you are trying to memorize a grocery list. Instead of just repeating it over and over, you group the items like fruits, snacks, and drinks. So this makes it easier for your brain to remember. So that's cognitivism at work. Organizing and connecting information in your mind to learn better. So we have the famous name in cognitivism, which we have John Piaget. So John Piaget believed that children go through different stages of thinking as they grow, and they learn best by building knowledge step by step based on what they already know. Next, we have constructivism. So a while ago, we discussed about the behaviorism, which is the observable behavior. Second, we have cognitivism, which is the inside in our mind. The hidden. In the kung ganina behaviorism is makita, the cognitivism is deep inside in our minds. Right now, we will be proceeding to constructivism, which is the number three. So, constructivist theory suggests that learners actively construct their understanding and knowledge of the world through experiences and reflections. So, it highlights the role of prior knowledge, social interactions, and hands on activities in learning. For example, group discussions where students share perspective and build upon each other's ideas promote constructivist learning. So, constructivism says that people learn best by doing things and experiencing them for themselves, like learning by doing. It's like saying we build our own understanding based on what we already know and what we experience. Instead of just listening to someone explain, learners make sense if new ideas by trying, exploring, and connecting them to their own life. That's what constructivism do. They allow children to experience or connect to their prior experiences to learn better. Example, imagine you're learning how to cook a recipe. You watch a video, then try it to yourself. Next, you make mistakes, adjust the ingredients, and figure out what works. Through that experience, you truly understand how to cook the dish, not just by reading about it, but by actually doing it. So that's constructivism. You're building knowledge through experience and our reflection. So we have famous name in constructivism. We have Lev Vygotsky. So Vygotsky believed learning happens best through social interactions with others, like group activities or discussions, and by building on what we already know. Constructivism is about learning by doing, experiencing. Constructivism is about learning by doing, experiencing, and connecting new ideas to what you already know. You learn better when you are actively involved. Famous names in constructivism, we have John Piaget, which is he theorized the cognitive development stages. We have Lev Vygotsky, social interaction and cultural context, and the ZPD. And we have Jerome Bruner, which is he theorized the discovery of learning and scaffolding. John Piaget, he explained that children learn in different stages as they grow. Kids build their understanding step by step, depending on what they already know. John Piaget explained that children learn in different stages as they grow. Kids build their understanding step by step, depending on what they already know. It's like climbing a ladder. You need to reach one step before moving to the next. So Vygotsky believed that we learn best when we interact with others like friends, teachers, or family. He introduced the idea of the zone of proximal development, or the ZPD, which means we can do more with a little help from others than we can do alone. Jerome Bruner, he focused on discovery learning, where learners find things out by exploring themselves instead of just being told. He also talked about scaffolding, which is like getting support or guidance from someone just enough to help you reach your next level. So in short, thinkers in short, these thinkers like Vygotsky, Piaget, and Brunner show that learning is an active process, growing step by step with help from others and by exploring the world around us. So we have a mnemonic to remember of about constructivism, which is cute little kids bake joyfully. Cute little kids bake joyfully. Cute little kids bake joyfully. C for construct knowledge. L for learner centered. K for knowledge builds on prior learning. And then we have and then we have B, which is Brunner, Piaget, and Vygotsky. Actually, this is Brunner, not Brunder. So sorry for the technical error. Oh, it's not technical. Is it technical? Typo error. So J for join experience and learning. So cute little kids bake joyfully, which is construct knowledge, learner centered, knowledge builds on prior learning, Brunner, Piaget, Vygotsky, and then join experience learning. So next, number 4, we have social learning theory. So first we have the what was the first we discussed? Behavior, yeah, behaviorism. Second, we have cognitivism. Third, we have constructivism. And right now we are on social learning theory, which is observational learning. Social learning theory posits that people learn through observing. imitating, and modeling behaviors of others. It emphasizes the influence of the social interaction, role models, and peers on learning outcomes. For instance, mentorship program where new employees learn from experienced colleagues embody social learning theory principle. So here, let us connect to our young child right now. So we need to um carefully checking our actions, because most of young children imitates or see us young adult as their role model. So every time what we do, they're going to imitate it. Like parents, if their like dad talking harshly, so they should imitate that one. So we should be take it seriously, or take what they call this one, precautions of what we're actions, what we're going to do, what we're going to like talk, something like that. So, social learning theory, because some of the children learns better or learns fast when they observe. So, social learning theory says we learn a lot by watching others and copying what they do. That's what I meant a while ago. So instead of only learning by doing ourselves, we also learn by seeing how other people behave and what happens to them. Like, for example, imagine a little kid sees their older sibling cleaning their bathroom, I'm sorry, cleaning their room and getting praised by their parents. So the kid watches this and decides to clean their own room too, hoping to get praise as well. So this shows how watching others can teach us new behaviors even without direct rewards or punishment. And we have a famous name in hold on. So we have a famous name in this social learning theory. We have Albert Bandura. He showed this with his famous Bobo doll experiment, where children who watch adults act aggressively toward a doll were more likely to copy the same behavior. So, in short, we learn by watching others, copying their actions, learning from their success or mistakes, and this helps shape what we do. So, in short, we have to be careful of what we are doing. Next example, a child learns to be kind and polite by watching how their parents treat others, offering help, saying thank you, or being respectful. Likewise, a child might pick up bad habits like shouting if they often see it at home, and that is very true. So we have a mnemonic to remember about the social learning theory, which is see it, copy it, and be it. See it, which is observe behavior. Copy it is imitate the action. Be it is make it part of your own behavior. Next, we have humanism. Okay, this is number five after social learning theory. So we have behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism, social learning theory, and we have humanism. So this is a learning. This learning is a personal act driven by the desire to grow and fulfill one's potential. It's not just about knowledge, it's about emotions, values, goals, and self worth too. So humanism's look at the whole person, including their feelings, motivations, personal experiences, and sense of self. So humanism um look a person as a whole. In simple terms, humanism focuses on the whole person, their feelings, motivation, and personal growth. It believes learning happens best when people feel valued, respected, and free to explore their own interests. Instead of just memorizing facts, humanistic learning is about helping people become their best selves and find meaning in what they learn. Example, a teacher, imagine a teacher who encourage you to choose project that matters to you, support your ideas, and helps you feel confident. Because you feel understood and motivated, you learn better and enjoy the process. So we have famous name in humanism. First, we have Abraham Maslow. Maslow, known for the hierarchy of needs, he explained that people learn best when their basic needs like safety and belonging are met first. Also, we have Carl Rogers. He believed in creating supportive, trusting learning environment where people feel safe to express themselves. So, in short, humanism is about learning with heart, focusing on personal growth, motivation, and feeling respected while discovering new things. Example again, a teacher creates a safe, supportive, and accepting classroom where students feel valued and free to express themselves. So when students feel respected, secure, and cared for, they're naturally more motivated to learn and grow. So that's the goal of education nowadays. Um, they prepare conducive environment. They prepared a conducive environment for all learners, which is everyone is welcome to study, to learn, like that. We have a mnemonic to remember for humanistic, which is happy minds learn best. Happy minds learn best, which is H for humanism, M for Maslow and Rogers, L for learner centered, B for balances emotion, values, and growth. Happy minds learn best. That is humanism. And then we have learning theories comparison. So we were going to compare those we discussed a while ago, which is we have behaviorism, social learning theory, humanism, and constructivism. So um first, we have behaviorism. The key idea for this one is learning happens through stimulus response association. Kulangan siya. Latay cognitivism. OMG. Hold on. Just give me a moment. I cannot screenshot. Hold on a second. Just give me a minute. A minute. Kaping mainit. Sorry for the inconvenience, guys, but let me correct this one. Okay, so hold on. Where is it? Yeah. Okay, so we have learning theories comparison for behaviorism, cognitivism, social learning theory, humanism, and constructivism. So for behaviorism, the focus for this one is the observable behavior and external stimuli. And learning happens through conditioning, rewards, and punishment shapes behavior. So the key people here, we have Ivan Pavlov, B.F. Skinner, and John Watson. And about the cognitivism, this is the mental process like thinking, memory, and problem solving. How learning happens? So by organizing and processing information inside the mind. So famous proponent John Piaget and Jerome Bruner. And we have social learning theory. Happens or learning through observation and imitation from others. So learning happens by watching, modeling, and imitating behavior seen in others. And the proponent for social learning theory is Albert Bandura. We have humanism, which is the focus is the personal growth, emotions, and individual potential. How learning happens? It is through meaningful experiences that focus on self motivation and self worth. The proponent here we have Abraham Maslow, Carl Rogers. Lastly, we have constructivism. Learners actively construct their own knowledge. So, how learning happens? It is by building new ideas on the past experience and real world connections. So, proponent is Jean Piaget and Levi Vygotsky. So for this one, for this five theories, behaviorism, cognitivism, social learning theory, humanism, and constructivism. So each of these theory offers a unique. Sorry. Each of these theory offers a unique lens on how we learn, whether through behavior, mental processes, social influence, personal meaning, or active discovery active discovery. So again, each theory offers a unique lens on how we learn, whether through behavior, mental processes, social influence, personal meaning, or active discovery. Educators often combine these perspectives to create rich and meaningful experiences. Okay, we have easy mnemonic to remember. Behaviorism, see behavior, reward, or punish. Social learning theory, see it, copy it, be it. Humanism, happy minds learns best. Constructivism, learners build, connect, and discover. Hold on, we missed cognitivism. Hold on, let me provide that answer. Sorry for the typo. Okay, so yeah. So, ay nako, I'm so sorry. I forgot the cognitivism. Sorry, na overlook. Nako. Okay, we have behaviorism. See behavior, rewards, or punish. Social learning theory, see it, copy it, and be it. Humanism, happy minds learns best. Constructivism, learners build, connect, discover. And we have cognitivism. Minds organize, process, and think it through. Minds organize, process, and think it through. Next, hold on. Okay, next we have again a quick review table, which is theory, behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism, social learning theory, and humanism. Proponents again for behaviorism: Watson, Skinner, Pavlov. Focus: stimulus response reinforcement. Cognitivism: Piaget, Bronner is the proponent, and focus: mental process, schema, memory. And then constructivism, Piaget, Vygotsky, Bronner. Active learning, social interaction is the key focus. Social learning, which is we have proponent Bandura, focus on learning by observing others. Lastly, humanism, proponents Maslow and Rogers, focus personal growth and self actualization. Okay, first we have John Watson. Behaviorism, which is classical behaviorism or the father of behaviorism. See, John B. Watson, father of behaviorism. Who is John B. Watson? So he is an American psychologist known as the founder of behaviorism, a theory that focuses on observable behaviors rather than internal mental process. So, John Watson focused on observable behaviors. So the key idea, behavior is learned through conditioning. Watson believed that all behaviors are learned from the environment through experiences. He emphasized that we can predict and control behavior by changing the environment and using stimulus response association. And he has a famous experiment, which is again Little Albert. Watson conducted an experiment with a baby named Albert to show how emotions could be conditioned. So what happened? Um, Albert was shown a white rat, which is the neutral stimulus, which is no fear. Next, Watson then paired the rat with a loud, scary noise, which is unconditioned stimulus. After several pairings, Alpha, sorry. After several pairing, Albert began to cry just by seeing the rat, even without the noise. So the lesson is that fear and other behaviors can be learned through experience. So Watson conditioned the young boy, little Albert, to fear a white rat by pairing the rat with a loud, frightening noise. So eventually, Albert displayed fear at the sight of the rat alone, demonstrating how emotional responses could be conditioned. And what happened? Little Albert experiment, by the way, it was made on 1920. Watson wanted to prove that emotions like fear could be learned, not just something we're born with. They worked with a baby known Albert. So, balik-balik na siya. Let's proceed. So, Short explanation that John Watson is known as the father of behaviorism. He believed that human behavior is learned through interaction with the environment and can be shaped and controlled by conditioning. No need to consider internal thoughts or emotions. He emphasized observable and measurable behaviors in observation. Hold on. He emphasized observable and he emphasized observable and measurable behaviors over introspection. So the key ideas here are that learning occurs through associations between stimuli and responses, focuses on observable behaviors that can be measured, trained, and changed. The mind is a blank slate. So for him, um he he proposed that the mind is a blank slate at birth, which is known as tabula rasa. Behavior is learned, not inherited. So he was in si Watson, inspired by Ivan Pavlov's classical conditioning. Simple example: a teacher praises students when they participate in class. So over time, students learn to raise their hands more often to receive praise. In short, a behaviorism focuses on observable behavior. Behavior is learned through conditioning, famous for Little Albert experiment. So why Watson matters, or the study, or the theory of Watson matters? Because he laid the foundation for modern behavior therapy and inspired future psychologists like B.F. Skinner. So in short, behavior is learned, not born. So we have mnemonic again for John B. Watson, which is John's behavior was visible. John's behavior was visible. John B. Watson's emphasized that behavior should be studied because it's visible and measurable. Next, we have B.F. Skinner, which is operant conditioning, learning via rewards and punishment. So, for him, learning through rewards and punishments, behaviors followed by positive outcomes are likely to be repeated, while those followed by negative outcome are less likely. So, B.F. Skinner is an American psychologist and one of the most influential behaviorists. He believed behavior is shaped by its consequences. What happens after we do something affects whether we'll do it again. The key idea is the operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is a type of learning where behavior is strengthened or weakened by the use of rewards or the reinforcement or punishment. B.F. Skinner expanded on behaviorism by introducing the operant conditioning, a theory that states behavior is influenced by its consequences. In other words, behaviors followed by rewards are strengthened, while those followed by punishment are weakened. The rewards will be strengthened and the punishment will be weakened. Unlike John B. Watson's focus on stimulus response associations, Skinner emphasized the role of reinforcement and punishment in shaping voluntary behavior. So, the key concept here, we have positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, and positive punishment, negative punishment. First, positive reinforcement. So, meaning adding a pleasant stimulus to increase behavior. So, positive reinforcement, adding a pleasant stimulus to increase the behavior. Negative reinforcement is removing an unpleasant stimulus to increase behavior. So, positive, adding a pleasant stimulus, while negative, removing an unpleasant stimulus. And positive punishment is also adding an unpleasant stimulus. So, a while ago, positive reinforcement is adding pleasant stimulus. The positive punishment is adding an unpleasant stimulus. Next, we have negative punishment, which is removing a pleasant stimulus. A while ago, the negative reinforcement, removing an unpleasant stimulus. The negative punishment, on the other hand, is removing a pleasant stimulus. Okay? Okay, let's move forward. By the way, negative punishment, removing a pleasant stimulus to decrease behavior. So again, we have a positive reinforcement, which is adding a pleasant stimulus to increase behavior. Negative reinforcement, removing an unpleasant stimulus to increase behavior. We have positive punishment, adding an unpleasant stimulus to decrease behavior. Negative punishment, removing a pleasant stimulus to decrease behavior. So, how it works? Positive reinforcement. This is adding something pleasant to increase a behavior. Example, giving a child candy for cleaning their room. And the negative reinforcement for that is removing something unpleasant to increase behavior. Example, turning off a loud alarm when you get out of bed. So we have positive punishment. So this is adding something unpleasant to decrease behavior. Example, scolding a child for drawing on the wall. And then the negative punishment is taking away something pleasant to decrease behavior. Example is removing screen time for breaking the rules. Next we have famous experiment of Skinner box. So famous experiment of B.F. Skinner is the Skinner box, which is operant conditioning chamber. Skinner placed animals like rats or pigeons in a controlled box where pressing a lever would deliver food or the reward, or stop the shock to remove discomfort. This showed how behavior could be shaped by consequences. Simple example, a student receive a star sticker, which is a positive reinforcement, for submitting homework on time, increasing the likelihood they'll do it again because they have a positive reinforcement, which is they receive a star sticker. So in short, B.F. Skinner focuses on voluntary behavior shaped by consequences, also introduce reinforcement and punishment. So the famous for the Skinner box is experiment CBF B.F. Skinner. Next we have operant conditioning mnemonic. So operant conditioning is please remember punishing parts. Please remember punishing parts. So positive reinforcement, which is add reward to raise behavior. Negative reinforcement, remove bad to raise behavior. Positive punishment, add pain to pause behavior. Negative punishment, take pleasure to pause a behavior. So operant conditioning mnemonic, please remember punishment part. Please remember punishing parts, which is positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, negative punishment. And why it matters? It is because Skinner's theory helped explain how we learn new behaviors and habits in daily life, school, and therapy through rewards and consequences systems. Next, we have the study of Ivan Pavlov, which is classical conditioning. Ivan Pavlov is a Russian psychologist, physiologist famous for discovering classical conditioning, which is a type of learning through association. Key idea is learning through association. Classical conditioning happens when a neutral stimulus or something meaningless at first becomes associated with a meaningful one, causing a learned response. So, Ivan Pavlov, a Russian physiologist, discovered classical conditioning while studying digestion in dogs. He found that organisms can learn to associate a neutral stimulus with a meaningful one, causing a learned involuntary response. His work became one of the foundations of behaviorism, influencing psychologists like John B. Watson. So the key concept here, um, unconditioned stimulus or UCS, meaning a stimulus that naturally triggers a response, like for example, a food. Unconditioned response, which is UCR, meaning a natural unlearned reaction. Example, salivation to food. Next, conditioned stimulus, which is CS, meaning a previously neutral stimulus that, after association with the unconditioned stimulus, which is UCS, triggers a response, which is, example, the bell. Conditioned response or CR, meaning a learned a response to previously neutral stimulus. Example is the salivation to bell. Okay, famous experiments for Pavlov is the Pavlov's dog experiment happened on 1903. So before conditioning, bell, which is the neutral stimulus, no response, and then the unconditioned stimulus, the food, happens after is the salivation, which is unconditioned stimulus or UCR. Unconditioned response, sorry. UCS is unconditioned stimulus and UCR unconditioned response. Again, famous experiment, Pavlov's dog experiment happened on 1903. Before conditioning the bell, which is not neutral stimulus, no response, the food, which is unconditioned stimulus, and then salivation, which is unconditioned response. During conditioning, bell plus food equals to salivation. And then after conditioning, bell or the conditioned stimulus equals to salivation, which is conditioned response. This showed how reflexive behavior can be conditioned by associating stimuli. Famous experiments on Pavlov's dog. Pavlov Pavlov's no hold on. Pavlov noticed that dogs would salivate when they saw a food. Then he started ringing a bell every time food was presented. After several times, the dog started salivating at the sound of the bell alone. After several times, the dog started salivating at the sound of the bell alone, even with no food present. Famous experiments on Pavlov's dogs. So here's the process. Unconditioned stimulus, which is UCS, which is naturally causes a response. Example is the food. Unconditioned response, or UCR, meaning natural unlearned response. Example is the salivation of the dog. The neutral stimulus, or NS, that's meaning is doesn't trigger a response yet. Then example before bell before conditioning. And conditioned stimulus, or CS, once neutral now causes response. Bell after pairing the food. And then lastly, conditioned response, or CR, learned response to conditioned stimulus. And the example is salivation to the bell alone. Simple example, a student feel excited about conditioned response, which is every time they hear the school bell, or conditioned stimulus, because it signals recess. And conditioned stimulus. In short, discovered classical conditioning behavior is learned by associating one stimulus with another, famous for the Pavlov's dog experiment. And why it matters? Because Pavlov showed how automatic emotional or physical reactions can be learned through experience, shaping future research in behaviorism and psychology. Next, we have Ragnaw ka na kong laway. Hold on. Hold on sa gyud. Taas pa gyud next session na ni please. Sakit na akong tutunlan.